Everyone, welcome to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, right here at the live studios at Radha Lane, ISKCON, Houston, just down the stepway from Sri Sri Radha Nila Madhava's beautiful temple. Okay, there's a big white linen festival going on in Houston, so all the devotees are there recruiting and chanting and giving out books and preaching, and so. But the hardcores, the real Rasika devotees are here today with us. So let's move on. Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram from the Sri Krishna Lila Stava of Srila Sanatana Goswami. It's a prayer glorifying the Srimad-Bhagavatam in a very wonderful way. We chant it every single day to edify us and to help us go deeper into this hearing that we're doing. Okay, it goes like this. Sarva Shastabdipi Yusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwanduditaditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nishtadaka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhu tadayin adini chochatakara hanamun jagadachin mam premnarit kandayaspura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, we've reached the 9th canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. We're getting prepared to receive the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original form of all of these wonderful incarnations that we've been hearing about for all these months into our presence in the 10th canto of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. And in order to prepare us, we're now hearing about the descendants of the Manus, which means this connects Krishna with the descendants coming from the beginning of the universe. That doesn't mean that Krishna is an ordinary part of a line of descendancy. He's not an ordinary person, of course, naturally. He's the source of everything, including this descendancy. But he agrees to appear within that line by his own sweet will in order to manifest himself in this material world as a human being, like a human being. He's got a human form, but it's all-powerful, and it's the original form, the original source of all information content, which creates all the different life forms and the living environments in all the universes. Just try to think about that for a second. Each cell in our body is more complex than the city of Houston. Each cell. And those cells are changing imperceptibly to us in such a way that we have a different body. Plus, it's such an elegant and complex design, this machine, what to speak of all the other species of life, but particularly human being, because it's the most complex. To think that this has just come out of nowhere or come out of the combination, a bumping in of two, molecules of chemicals by chance, is insane. Actually, it's insane. It's not mathematically possible, even by the very scientists in science, which is the basis. The math is the science, basis of the science, physics, etc., etc. And our godbrother Sariputta Prabhu, who was a PhD in mathematics and was extremely brilliant, like a Einstein-type genius, and he was entering into biological mathematics, trying to put the complexities of the biological, machine, the organic matter, into possibilities and formulas and all that. He said it was impossible, and he proves it through math. So that's Krishna. He's the form in which all the information content for all of the forms and all of the, life play, everything is yet he comes into the world and acts like a human being, especially in Vrindavan. So that's what we're being prepared for, to understand just how great his energies are and how they work. So part of that is the genealogical table, or the genealogical succession of personalities, and that's what we're hearing about now. So it may seem like, we just have to hear all these names. This one begot this one, and this one the son of this one, and such and such and such and such. But all these names are holy names. So just by hearing by these names and how it fits together, we're being purified and prepared to meet Krishna. Okay, with that, we'll go into the second chapter of the 9th canto, the dynasties of the sons of Manu. Manu was the original father of mankind. Maruta's son was Dhamma. Dhamma's son was Rajyavardhana. Rajyavardhana's son was Sudriti, and his son was Nara. So we're already in the middle of it. We heard it, it's the first part of it today. So we're coming in right in the middle, don't worry. Just hear these names with devotion and be purified. 30, starting with 30. Text 30. The son of Nara was Kevala, and his son was Dunduman, whose son was Vegavan. Vegavan's son was Buddha. This is a different Buddha than the one who appeared in the Kali Yuga. And Buddha's son, this is Buddha. And Buddha's son was Trinabindu, who became the king of this earth. Text 31. The best of the Apsaras, the highly qualified girl named Alambusha, accepted the similarly qualified Trinabindu as her husband. She gave birth to a few sons and a daughter, known as Ilavila. Text 32. After the great saint Vishrava, the master of mystic yoga, received absolute knowledge from his father, he begot in the womb of Ilavila the greatly celebrated son known as Kuvera, the giver of money. Text 33. Trinabindu had 3 sons, named Vishal, Shunyabandhu, and Dhumarketu. Among these 3, Vishal created a dynasty and constructed a palace called Vaishali. Text 34. The son of Vishala was known as Hemachandra. His son was Dhumraksha, and his son was Samyama, whose sons were Devaja and Krishashva. Text 35 and 36. The son of Krishashva was Somadatta, who performed Ashwamedha sacrifices and thus satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. By worshipping the Supreme Lord, he achieved the most exalted post, residence on the planet to which great mystic yogis are elevated. The son of Somadatta was Sumati, whose son was Janamejaya. All these kings appeared in the dynasty of Vishala, properly maintained the celebrated position of King Trinabindu. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 9th canto, 2nd chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled The Dynasties of the Sons of Manu. Okay, another act in the supreme drama of the history of the universe has been taken into our hearts, and the bell cannot be unrung. It will stay there forever, the benefit that we just got. Chapter 3, the marriage of Sukanya and Chaivana Muni. This chapter describes the dynasty of Sharyati, another son of Manu, and also tells about Sukanya and Revati. Devagya Sharyati gave instructions about what to do in the ritualistic ceremony observed on the second day of the yajna of Angirasas. One day, Sharyati, along with his daughter, known as Sukanya, went to the ashram of Chaivana Muni. There, Sukanya saw two glowing substances within a hole of earthworms. And by chance, she pierced those two glowing substances. As soon as she did this, blood began to ooze from that hole. Consequently, King Sharyati and his companions suffered from constipation and inability to pass urine. Whoa! When the king asked why circumstances had suddenly changed, he found that Sukanya was the cause of this misfortune. Then they all offered prayers to Chaivana Muni just to satisfy him. Those were the eyes of Chaivana that she poked. Then they all offered prayers to Chaivana Muni just to satisfy him according to his own desire. And Devagya Sharyati offered his daughter to Chaivana Muni, who was a very old man. When the heavenly physicians, the Ashwini Kumara brothers, once visited Chaivana Muni, the Muni requested them to give back his youth. These two physicians took Chaivana Muni to a particular lake in which they bathed and regained full youth. After this, Sukanya could not distinguish her husband. She then surrendered unto the Ashwini Kumaras, who were very satisfied with her chastity, and who therefore introduced her again to her husband. Chaivana Muni then engaged King Sharyati in performing the Somayagya and gave the Ashwini Kumaras the privilege to drink Somarasa. The king of heaven, Lord Indra, became very angry at this, but he could do no harm to Sharyati. Henceforward, the Ashwini Kumara physicians were able to share in the Somarasa. Because see, they're not actually demigods. Only a certain level of demigod are allowed to drink the Somarasa at the end of a sacrifice, Soma sacrifice. Sharyati later had three sons named Uttanabari, Anarta, Burishena, and Burishena. Anarta had one son whose name was Revata. Revata had 100 sons, of whom the eldest was Kakubdimi. Kakudmi was advised by Lord Brahma to offer his beautiful daughter, Revati, to Baladev, who belongs to the Vishnu Tattva category. After doing this, Kakudmi retired from family life and entered the forest of Badarikashram to execute austerities and penances. That's a very interesting story, which we'll hear about during the reading of this chapter. Okay, text 1. Sri Shukadev Goswami continued, O king, Shayati, another son of Manu, was a ruler completely aware of Vedic knowledge. He gave instructions about the functions for the second day of the yajna to be performed by the descendants of Angira. Text 2. Shayati had a beautiful lotus-eyed daughter named Sukanya, with whom he went to the forest to see the ashrama of Chaivana Muni. Get some white linen out there. Text 3. While that Sukanya, surrounded by her friends, was collecting various types of fruits from the trees in the forest, she saw within the hole of an earthworm 2 things glowing like luminaries. Text 4. As if induced by providence, the girl ignorantly pierced these 2 glowworms with a thorn, and when they were pierced, blood began to ooze out of them. Text 5. Thereupon, all these soldiers of Sharyati were immediately obstructed from passing urine and stool. Upon perceiving this, Sharyati spoke to his associates in surprise. How strange it is that one of us has attempted to do something wrong to Chaivana Muni, the son of Brigu. It certainly appears that someone among us has polluted this ashram. Text 7. Being very much afraid, the girl Sukanya said to his father, I have done something wrong, for I have ignorantly pierced these 2 luminous substances with a thorn. Text 8. After hearing this statement by his daughter, King Shayati was very much afraid. In various ways, he tried to appease Chaivana Muni, for it was he who sat within the hole of the earthworm. Text 9. King Shayati, being very contemplative and thus understanding Chaivana Muni's purpose, gave his daughter in charity to the sage. Thus released from danger and great difficulty, he took permission from Chaivana Muni and returned home. Purport. The king, after hearing the statement of his daughter, certainly told the great sage Chaivana Muni everything about how his daughter had ignorantly committed such an offense. The Muni, however, inquired from the king whether the daughter was married. In this way, the king, understanding the purpose of the great sage Chaivana Muni, tad abhiprayam agyaya, immediately gave the Muni his daughter in charity and escaped the danger of being cursed. Thus, with the permission of the great sage, the king returned home. 10. Chaivana Muni was very irritable, but since Sukanya had gotten him as her husband, she dealt with him carefully, according to his mood. Knowing his mind, she performed service to him without being bewildered. Purport. This is an indication of the relationship between husband and wife. A great personality like Chaivana Muni has the temperament of always wanting to be in a superior position. Such a person cannot submit to anyone. Therefore, Chaivana Muni had an irritable temperament. His wife Sukanya could understand his attitude, and under the circumstances she treated him accordingly. If any wife wants to be happy with her husband, she must try to understand her husband's temperament and please him. This is victory for a woman. Even in the dealings of Lord Krishna with his different queens, it has been seen that although the queens were the daughters of great kings, they placed themselves before Lord Krishna as his maidservants. However great a woman may be, she must place herself before her husband in this way. That is to say, She must be ready to carry out her husband's orders and please him in all circumstances. Then her life will be successful. When the wife becomes as irritable as the husband, their life at home is sure to be disturbed or ultimately completely broken. In the modern day, the wife is never submissive, and therefore home life is broken even by slight incidents. Either the wife or the husband may take advantage of the divorce laws. According to the Vedic law, however, there is no such thing as divorce laws, and a woman must be trained to be submissive to the will of her husband. Westerners contend that this is a slave mentality for the wife, but factually it is not. It is the tactic by which a woman can conquer the heart of her husband, however irritable or cruel he may be. In this case, we clearly see that although Chaitanya Muni was not young, but indeed old enough to be Sukanya's grandfather, and was also very irritable, Sukanya, the beautiful young daughter of a king, submitted herself to her old husband and tried to please him in all respects. Thus she was a faithful and chaste wife. Text 11. Thereafter, some time having passed, the Ashwini Kumara brothers, the heavenly physicians, happened to come to Chaitanya Muni's ashram. After offering them respectful obeisances, Chaitanya Muni requested them to give him youthful life, for they were able to do so. Purport. The heavenly physicians, like the Ashwini Kumaras, could give youthful life even to one who was advanced in age. Indeed, great yogis, with their mystic powers, can even bring a dead body back to life if the structure of the body is in order. We have already discussed this in connection with Bali Maharaja's soldiers and their treatment by Shukracharya. Modern medical science has not yet discovered how to bring a dead body back to life or bring youthful energy to an old body. But from these verses we can understand that such treatment is possible if one is able to take knowledge from the Vedic information. The Ashwini Kumaras were expert in Ayurveda, as was Dhanvantari. In every department of material science, there is a perfection to be achieved, and to achieve it, one must consult the Vedic literature. The highest perfection is to become a devotee of the Lord. To attain this perfection, one must consult Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is understood to be the ripe fruit of the Vedic desire tree, Nigamakalpa, Taror, Galitam, Palam. Text 12. Chaitanya Muni said, although you are ineligible to drink somarasa in sacrifices, I promise to give you a full pot of it. Kindly arrange beauty and youth for me, because they are attractive to young women. Text 13. The great physicians, the Ashwini Kumaras, very gladly accepted Chaitanya Muni's proposal. Thus they told the Brahmana, just dive into this lake of successful life. One who bathes in this lake has his desires fulfilled. Text 14. After saying this, the Ashwini Kumaras caught hold of Chaitanya Muni, who was an old diseased invalid with loose skin, white hair, and veins visible all over his body. And all three of them entered the lake. Purport. Chaitanya Muni was so old that he could not enter the lake alone. Thus, the Ashwini Kumaras caught hold of his body, and the three of them entered the lake. Text 15. Thereafter, three men with very beautiful bodily features emerged from the lake. They were nicely dressed and decorated with earrings and garlands of lotuses. All of them were of the same standard of beauty. Text 16. The chaste and very beautiful Sukanya could not distinguish her husband from the two Ashwini Kumaras, for they were equally beautiful. Not understanding who her real husband was, she took shelter of the Ashwini Kumaras. Purport. Sukanya could have selected any one of them as her husband, for one could not distinguish among them. But because she was chaste, she took shelter of the Ashwini Kumaras so that they could inform her who her actual husband was. A chaste woman will never accept any man other than her husband, even if there is someone equally as handsome and qualified. Text 17. The Ashwini Kumaras were very pleased to see Sukanya's chastity and faithfulness. Thus they showed her Chaivana Muni, her husband, and after taking permission from him, they returned to the heavenly planets in their plane. Text 18. Thereafter King Sharyati, desiring to perform a sacrifice, went to the residence of Chaivana Muni. There he saw by the side of his daughter a very beautiful young man, as bright as the sun. Text 19. After receiving obeisances from his daughter, the king, instead of offering blessings to her, appeared very displeased and spoke as follows. Text 20. O unchaste girl, what is this that you have desired to do? You have cheated the most respectable husband, who was honored by everyone. For I see that because he was old, diseased, and therefore unattractive, you have left his company to accept as your husband this young man who appears to be a beggar from the street. Purport. This shows the values of Vedic culture. According to the circumstances, Sukanya had been given a husband who was too old to be compatible with her. Because Chaivana Muni was diseased and very old, he was certainly unfit for the beautiful daughter of King Sharyati. Nonetheless, her father expected her to be faithful to her husband. When he suddenly saw that his daughter had accepted someone else, even though the man was young and handsome, he immediately chastised her as asati, unchaste, because he assumed that she had accepted another man in the presence of her husband. According to Vedic culture, even if a young woman is given an old husband, she must respectfully serve him. This is chastity. It is not that because she dislikes her husband, she may give him up and accept another. This is against Vedic culture. According to Vedic culture, a woman must accept the husband given to her by her parents and remain chaste and faithful to him. Therefore, King Sharyati was surprised to see a young man by the side of Sukanya. Text 21. O my daughter, who were born in a respectable family, how have you degraded your consciousness in this way? How is it that you are shamelessly maintaining a paramour? You will thus degrade the dynasties of both your father and your husband to hellish life. Purport. It is quite clear that according to Vedic culture, a woman who accepts a paramour or second husband in the presence of the husband she is married is certainly responsible for the degradation of her father's family and the family of her husband. The rules of Vedic culture in this regard are strictly observed in the respectable families of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas even today. Only the Shudras are degraded in this matter. For a woman of the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya class to accept another husband in the presence of the husband she is married, or to file for divorce, or accept the boyfriend or paramour, is unacceptable in the Vedic culture. Therefore, King Sharyati, who did not know the real facts of Chaivana Muni's transformation, was surprised to see the behavior of his daughter. Text 22. Sukanya, however, being very proud of her chastity, smiled upon hearing the rebukes of her father. She smilingly told him, "My dear father, this young man by my side is your actual son-in-law, the great sage Chaivana, who was born in the family of Bhrigu." Purport. Although the father chastised the daughter, assuming that she had accepted another husband, the daughter knew that she was completely honest and chaste, and therefore she was smiling. When she explained that her husband, Chaivana Muni, had now been transformed into a young man, she was very proud of her chastity, and thus she smiled as she talked with her father. Text 23. Chaivana Muni, by his own prowess, enabled King Sharyati to perform the Somayagya. The Muni offered a full pot of Somarasa to the Ashwini Kumaras, although they were unfit to drink it.
Maybe we skipped.
Oh, we skipped one. I thought so. I'm scrolling down quickly. Thus Sukanya explained how her husband had received the beautiful body of a young man. When the king heard this, he was very surprised, and in great pleasure he embraced his beloved daughter. 24. Chaivana Muni, by his own prowess, enabled King Sharyati to perform the Somayagya. The Muni offered a full pot of Somarasa to the Ashwini Kumaras, although they were unfit to drink it. 25. King Indra, being perturbed and angry, wanted to kill Chaivana Muni, and therefore he impetuously took up his thunderbolt. But Chaivana Muni, by his powers, paralyzed Indra's arm that held the thunderbolt. Text 26. Although the Ashwini Kumaras were only physicians and were therefore excluded from drinking Somarasa in sacrifices, the demigods agreed to allow them henceforward to drink it. King Sharyati begot 3 sons named Uttarabari, Anarta, and Burishena. From Anarta came a son named Revata. Text 28. O Maharaj Parikshit, subduer of enemies, this Revata constructed a kingdom known as Kushashtali in the depths of the ocean. There he lived and ruled such tracts of land as Anarta, etc. He had 100 very nice sons, of whom the eldest was Kakudmi. Taking his own daughter, Revati, Kakudmi went to Lord Brahma in Brahmaloka, which is transcendental to the 3 modes of material nature, and inquired about a husband for her. Purport. It appears that Brahmaloka, the abode of Lord Brahma, is also transcendental above the 3 modes of material nature, Pavritam. Text 30. When Kakudmi arrived there, Lord Brahma was engaged in hearing musical performances by the Gandharvas and had not a moment to talk with him. Therefore, Kakudmi waited, and at the end of the musical performances, he offered his obeisances to Lord Brahma and thus submitted his long-standing desire. Text 31. After hearing his words, Lord Brahma, who was most powerful, laughed loudly and said to Kakudmi, O king, all those whom you may have decided within the core of your heart to accept as your son-in-law have passed away in the course of time. Text 32. 27 Chatur-yugas have already passed. In other words, since he left the earth to go to Brahma, during the time he was there, 27 Chatur-yugas passed. That's 27 times 8,600,000,000 years. Those upon whom you may have decided are now gone, and so are their sons, grandsons, and other descendants. You cannot even hear about their names. Purport. That puts everything into perspective. No matter how important you think you are, or what a dynasty you have, and how important you think your son will be when you leave, very soon it's just washed away by the waves of time. Purport. During Lord Brahma's day, 14 Manus, or 1,000 Mahayugas, passed away. Brahma informed King Kakudmi that 27 Mahayugas, each consisting of the 4 periods, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali, had already passed. All the kings and other great personalities born in those yugas had now departed from memory into obscurity. This is the way of time. as it moves through past, present, and future. Text 33. O king, leave here and offer your daughter to Lord Baladev, who is still present. He is most powerful. Indeed, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose plenary portion is Lord Vishnu. Your daughter is fit to be given to him in charity. Text 34. Lord Baladev is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who hears and chants about him is purified. Because he is always the well-wisher of all living entities, he has descended with all his paraphernalia to purify the entire world and lessen its burden. Text 35. Having received this order from Lord Brahma, Kakudma offered obeisances unto him and returned to his own residence. He then saw that his residence was vacant, having been abandoned by his brothers and other relatives who were living in all directions because of fear of such higher living beings as the Yakshas. Text 36. Thereafter the king, that's right, yes. Thereafter the king gave his most beautiful daughter in charity to the supreme powerful Baladev, and then retired from worldly life and went to Badarik Ashram to please Narayana. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 9th canto, 3rd chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled The Marriage of Sukanya and Chaivana Muni. Haribol. Okay, moving right along from one act to the other very quickly. Chapter 4. Ambarish Maharaj. Oh, this is a big one. Ambarish Maharaj, offended by Durvasa Muni. This chapter, just a second. This chapter describes the history of Maharaj Nabhaga, of his son Nabhaga, and of Maharaj Ambarish. The son of Manu was Nabhaga, and his son Nabhaga lived for many years in the Gurukula. In Nabhaga's absence, his brothers did not consider his share of the kingdom, but instead divided the property among themselves. When Nabhaga returned home, his brothers bestowed upon him their father as his share. What a ripoff. But when Nabhaga went to his father and told him about the dealings of the brothers, his father informed him that this was cheating and advised him that for his livelihood he should go to the sacrificial arena and describe 2 mantras to be chanted there. Nabhaga executed the order of his father, and thus Angira and other great saintly persons gave him all the money collected in that sacrifice. To test Nabhaga, Lord Shiva challenged his claim to the wealth. But when Lord Shiva was satisfied by Nabhaga's behavior, Lord Shiva offered him all the riches. From Nabhaga was born Ambarish, the most powerful and celebrated devotee. Maharaj Ambarish was the emperor of the entire world, but he considered his opulence temporary. Indeed, knowing that such material opulence is the cause of downfall into conditioned life, he was unattached to this opulence. Excuse me, I'm just closing down my voice, the sound. He engaged his senses and mind in the service of the Lord. This process is called Yukta Vairagya, or feasible renunciation, which is quite suitable for worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because Maharaj Ambarish, as the emperor, was immensely opulent, he performed a devotional service with great opulence, and therefore Despite his wealth, he had no attachment to his wife, children, or kingdom. He constantly engaged his senses and mind in the service of the Lord. Therefore, to say nothing of enjoying material opulence, he never desired even liberation. Once Maharaj Ambarish was worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Vrindavan, observing the vow of Dwadashi. On Dwadashi, the day after Ekadashi, when he was about to break his Ekadashi fast, the great mystic Yogi Durvasa appeared in his house and became his guest. King Ambarish respectfully received Durvasa Muni, and Durvasa Muni, after accepting his invitation to eat there, went to bathe in the Yamuna river at noontime. Because he was absorbed in samadhi, he did not come back very soon. Maharaj Ambarish, however, upon seeing that the time to break the fast was passing, drank a little water, in accordance with the advice of learned brahmanas, just to absorb the formality of breaking the fast. By mystic power, Durvasa Muni could understand that this had happened, and he was very angry. When he returned, he began to chastise Maharaj Ambarish, but he was not satisfied, and finally he created from his hair a demon, appearing like the fire of death. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, is always the protector of his devotee. And to protect Maharaj Ambarish, he sent his disc, the Sudarshan Chakra, which immediately vanquished the fiery demon, and then pursued Durvasa, who was so envious of Maharaj Ambarish. Durvasa fled to Brahmaloka, Shivaloka, and all the other higher planets, but he could not protect himself from the wrath of the Sudarshan Chakra. Finally, he went to the spiritual world and surrendered to Lord Narayana. But the Lord Narayana could not excuse a person who had offended a Vaishnava. To be excused from such an offense, he must submit to the Vaishnava whom he has offended. There is no other way to be excused. Thus Lord Narayana advised Durvasa to return to Maharaj Ambarish and beg his pardon. Text 1. Shukadeva Goswami said, the son of Nabhaga, named Nabhaga, lived for a long time at the place of his spiritual master. Therefore, his brothers thought that he was not going to become a grahastha and would not return. Consequently, without providing a share for him, they divided the property of their father among themselves. When Nabhaga returned from the place of his spiritual master, they gave him their father as his share. Oops. Purport. There are two kinds of brahmacharis. One may return home, marry, and become a householder, whereas the other, known as Brihad Vrata, takes a vow to remain a brahmachari perpetually. The Brihad Vrata brahmachari does not return from the place of the spiritual master. He stays there, and later he directly takes sannyas. Because Nabhaga did not return from the palace of his spiritual master, his brothers thought that he had taken Brihad Vrata brahmacharya. Therefore they did not preserve his share, and when he returned, they gave him their father as his share. Text 2. Nabhaga inquired, my dear brothers, what have you given to me as my share of our father's property? His elder brothers answered, we have kept our father as your share. But when Nabhaga went to his father and said, my dear father, my elder brothers have given you as my share of property, the father replied, my dear son, do not rely upon their cheating words. I am not your property. Text 3. Nabhaga's father said, all the descendants of Angira are now going to perform a great sacrifice. But although they are very intelligent, on every 6th day they will be bewildered in performing sacrifice and will make mistakes in their daily duties. Purport. Nabaga was very simple-hearted. Therefore, when he went to his father, the father, in compassion for his son, suggested that a means of livelihood, Nabaga should go to the descendants of Angira and take advantage of their misgivings in performing yajna. Text 4 and 5. Nabaga's father continued, Go to those great souls and describe 2 Vedic hymns pertaining to Vaishvadeva. When the great sages have completed the sacrifice and are going to the heavenly planets, they will give you the remnants of the money they have received from the sacrifice. Therefore, go there immediately. Thus, Nabaga acted exactly according to the advice of his father, and the great sages of the Angira dynasty gave him all their wealth and then went to the heavenly planets. Text 6. Thereafter, while Nabaga was accepting the riches, a black-looking person from the north came to him and said, All the wealth from this sacrificial arena belongs to me. Nabaga then said, These riches belong to me. The great saintly persons have delivered them to me. When Nabaga said this, the black-looking person replied, Let us go to your father and ask him to settle our disagreement. In accordance with this, Nabaga inquired from his father. The father of Nabaga said, Whatever the great sages sacrificed in the arena of the Dakya Yagya, they offered to Lord Shiva as his share. Therefore, everything in the sacrificial arena certainly belongs to Lord Shiva. Thereupon, after offering obeisances to Lord Shiva, Nabaga said, O worshipable Lord, everything in this arena of sacrifice is yours. This is the assertion of my father. Now, with great respect, I bow my head before you, begging your mercy. Text 10. Lord Shiva said, Whatever your father has said is the truth, and you are also speaking the same truth. Therefore I, who know the Vedic mantras, shall explain transcendental knowledge to you. Text 11. Lord Shiva said, Now you may take all the wealth remaining from the sacrifice, for I give it to you. After saying this, Lord Shiva, who is most adherent to the religious principles, disappeared from that place. Text 12. If one hears and chants or remembers this narration in the morning and evening with great attention, he certainly becomes very learned, experienced in understanding the Vedic hymns, and expert in self-realization. And we're going to stop there. We're almost at 6:05. We got a little late start. Excuse us, all those out in cyberspace. So we'll have our open mic time. You got there you go. There you go. The keeper of the mic has now.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. I'm curious.
You have to turn this around, though. Wait a second. I'll turn it around.
Yes, of course. No, I gotta point it at myself. Okay. I think that's it.
There you are.
So, I'm a little bit confused about this particular story. So, his father sends him to the sacrificial arena of the Angiras and says when they become bewildered on whatever it is, the 6th day, then you'll have these mantras to give them, and then as a result, they'll leave you with all the wealth left over from the sacrifices, and when they depart for the heavenly kingdom and for the heavenly planets. But then this black figure comes and challenges it. And
No, you got the see the details of that. It's in the summary. It told that, but in the actual text itself, it doesn't describe how he corrected them in each of the, each of the days, every sixth day. It just explained that they had a sacrifice successful because of him, and therefore they gave him the wealth. And after they gave him the wealth, then Lord Shiva came and said, actually, this was offered to me. It belongs to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the order of the pastime.
So, I guess I'm missing my question then. But it seems like, who was this black figure then that
Shiva.
came? That was Shiva.
That was Lord Shiva.
Oh, okay, I see. I got you.
Yeah. Because they were actually offering it to Lord Shiva.
I see.
And then when he went to the father, and then the father and Lord Shiva, and then the Namaga said, no, this belongs to me. My father said, according to my father, this should belong to me. And he says, okay, well, let's go to your father and let him decide, because he knew that it was offered to him.
Yes.
And then when the father confirmed Lord Shiva's word, that this was actually meant for Shiva, so it belongs to him. And then when Namaga surrendered to Lord Shiva on the basis of the order of his father, then Lord Shiva, saw this is a really honest person, and he's speaking the truth. His father was speaking the truth. Therefore, you can have the money.
So it's almost like his father knew that that's what would happen with his very honest son. He would please Shiva.
It doesn't say that directly, but maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
You could derive that conclusion. Both of them were so truthful.
That seems very clear now. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a nice story.
Yeah, very nice. Honest John, please.
Take a stab at it here. I was kind of curious as to...
You can sit in that chair, yeah.
Yeah, as to the story where Durvasa, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right.
Perfect.
He went to so he's out and he's taking a bath or whatever, and he gets in samadhi and he forgets the time. And his king, Ambarish's advisors advised him to go ahead and break the fast, because that's what you need to officially break the fast, but don't eat. But
yeah, because water is considered to be eating and not eating.
Yeah, but he had to do that technically in order to.
Yeah.
I don't understand why Durvasa got upset at that.
Because Durvasa he's that kind of personality. Durvasa, he's a cantankerous person. He's like what we call a contrary personality. He's always very easily angered and also very easily pleased.
And he's like he's a exalted personality, close to the Lord and everything. It just kind of seems weird that he would.
Well, it's his nature.
That's his nature.
Just his nature. Like, the other side of it is because he's an incarnation of Shiva, actually.
Oh, okay.
He's an expansion of Shiva.
Okay.
And therefore, he's very easily pleased and he's very easily disturbed.
Just like Shiva.
So, to prove the other side, once when he came to Braj during Krishna Lila, then Radharani and the gopis went to serve him. They knew that a great yogi had come, and they were trained by their...
He's a yogi.
Huh?
He's a yogi.
Yeah, he's a great yogi. So then they went to the other side of the river and met him and served him very nicely. And Durvasa became so pleased with Radharani, because who wouldn't become pleased with Radharani? Personification of perfection. And he was so pleased that he said, I bless you that whatever you cook will become full of nectar, and it will give life and health and everything auspicious. So this is a part of... So he's so exalted, he's actually in Krishna Lila. Because then, when Kirtida and when Mother Yashoda found out that she had gotten this blessing from Durvasa Muni, who's famous to give power and to give blessings, then she actually insisted, that the mother and father of Radharani send her over to cook for Krishna every day. This is another way that Radharani came to be able to come and be with Krishna. So he's that elevated, you know. And one time he was used by Duryodhana and company when the Pandavas were in exile in the forest. Because you know they lost everything, they lost Draupadi, they had to go to the forest for 13 years. And one of the things that happened to them out there, because Duryodhana was still, they were so nasty, they were still trying to put him into trouble, into extra trouble. So they told Durvasa Muni, you know everything, so you go to wherever the Pandavas are and cause them trouble. Show up, for lunch with all your followers. There were like 60,000 sages, his followers. And you come just at the time after Draupadi has finished her lunch. Because Draupadi had this pot that was given to her by the sun god. And until she ate, that pot would provide for any guest that came, any amount of prasad. So he timed it, and he got there just at the time after her lunch. And then they were in trouble. So Yudhishthira said, "Oh, Maharaj, please go take your bath, and we'll prepare your meal." And he went there, thinking, "Oh, we're going to, cause some trouble, because this is his nature." And then what happened was Krishna came. He knew what was happening, so he came there. And he understood the situation. Yudhishthira explained everything. And then he said, "Where's Draupadi?" So Draupadi came, and he said, "Okay, so just give me something from that pot." It's all finished. Everything's finished. Just bring me the pot. And he found a little piece of vegetable, just a little tiny piece of vegetable stuck to the pot. And he took it, and as soon as he took it, all of the yogis, Durvasa and all their followers, became completely filled. They couldn't have eaten one more bite. And then they got so embarrassed, because then Yudhishthira said, "All right, come on, your lunch is ready." And then Durvasa said, and everybody said, "We can't, we're filled up to here, it's not possible." And then he said, instead of them being embarrassed, they just went away. In that way, Krishna saved the day. So that's Durvasa Muni. He's a very special yogi, and he appears in different times, in different places, to stir up trouble or do something very wonderful. It's just his nature.
I'm just learning about these different characters, and I'm trying to, maybe, I guess, derive lessons or some kind of wisdom for what they do. Just keep.
That's why we call you Honest John.
Well, I appreciate that, but anyways, there's some of the characters in here are fascinating. So.
Oh yeah, It's like real life.
Yeah.
It's like real life.
There's a double-sided coin,
Oh yeah. Anyway, Honest John, we're so happy to see you again. You've been gone working so much, and so good to see you back here in the saddle.
Oh yeah.
Here in the Bhagavatam.
August is a real busy time for us.
Anyway, very nice to see you again.
Well, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Glories to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Okay, we're going to stop there because it's 10 minutes to 6. Unless we have something from the... See what's going on. Okay, good.
No questions.
Thank you very much, everyone. All glories to Durvasa Muni. And all glories to all the great personalities of the Srimad-Bhagavatam and the pastimes of the Bhagavatam. And as we heard, if you hear this, recite it, then everything becomes auspicious in your life. And that's what's happening to us. And those of us who are actually doing it every day, we feel it, we taste it. It's reality. It's not a joke. It's not just an exaggeration just to convince them to do something. It's the real thing. Okay, Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Tomorrow's Sunday, so we'll see you at 4:30 Central Time, USA. Same